What would drive a beautiful, wealthy woman to stand in the middle of a village, openly weeping, and perform a bizarre funeral for a live chicken and its chick? The air was thick, with the smell of dust and wood smoke, a scent she hadn't breathed in years. The drums beat a slow, hollow rhythm, a heartbeat for her humiliation, as Aria, a woman accustomed to silk sheets and marble floors, dug her manicured fingers into the dry, unforgiving earth. The crowd that encircled her was a wall of whispers. "Look at the city wife," some jeered, "playing in the dirt like a mad woman." Others, the older ones, watched with a grave understanding, their faces impassive. They knew this was no game. This strange, agonizing ritual was Aria's final, desperate hope to undo a dark, invisible curse that had poisoned her life, a curse she had, in her own forgotten rage, placed upon herself. Her life just a few years ago was a different world entirely. It was a picture of impossible perfection, the kind of story village girls whispered about. Aria, with her smooth, dark skin that shone like polished ebony, had escaped the toil of the farm for a glittering dream in the city. Her husband Ben, a successful businessman with a kind heart and a strong presence, worshipped her. He had given her a palace of glass and steel overlooking the sprawling city, a home so high the city lights looked like a carpet of fallen stars. He filled her garage with luxury cars and her closets with clothes she couldn't possibly wear in a lifetime. To anyone who saw them, they were the pinnacle of success and love, a perfect portrait of modern African royalty. But their perfect home was a silent tomb. Behind the floor-to-ceiling windows and behind their flawless smiles, a devastating silence was growing, echoing louder with each passing year. For 3 long, agonizing years, they had prayed for the cry of a baby, for the pitter-patter of small feet on the marble floors. But the nursery, decorated and waiting, remained a monument to their silent heartbreak. The fairy tale was rotting from the inside. The gilded cage, once a symbol of her new life, now felt like a prison. Aria, who had once been so full of life and song, felt herself disappearing. Her reflection in the polished surfaces of her home began to look like a stranger, a hollowed-out woman, draped in wealth, but starved of purpose. That quiet sorrow soon erupted into a living nightmare, and the monster wore the face of family. Her mother-in-law, a formidable woman with a stern face and skin the color of deep mahogany, saw Aria's infertility not as a shared tragedy, but as a personal failure, a stain on her son's legacy. Her cold, calculating eyes followed Aria everywhere. Her words were sharp, public daggers. "What kind of woman are you?" she would scream, ensuring other family members could hear. "A beautiful but empty pot? You are here only to eat my son's wealth and give him nothing in return?" She, along with Ben's 2 sisters, began a coordinated and brutal campaign of humiliation. They branded her with the most painful word imaginable: barren. They called her useless, a curse on their bloodline. At family dinners, they would pointedly ask other women about their children while Aria sat in silence. They would shove Castor in hallways, accidentally spilling drinks on her expensive clothes. Ben, a strong man with skin like rich earth, fought for her, but his words were wind against the hurricane of their cruelty. Aria's nights became a blur of tears soaking into silk pillows. Her spirit, which was once so bright, was eroding under the constant acid of their hatred. She began to dread the sound of her husband's car, knowing that it meant she had to put on a brave face. She longed for the simplicity of her father's farm, for the feeling of honest soil under her feet and the unconditional love in his eyes. She was a shadow, a beautiful ghost haunting a loveless mansion. By the fourth year, every medical avenue was a dead end. Doctors spoke of unexplained infertility, offering clinical phrases that did nothing to soothe the gaping wound in her soul. Hope had dwindled to a single, dying ember. Then, a messenger from her village arrived with a small folded note from her father, Okoro. It contained only 5 words: "My daughter, come home. The ancestors want to speak." It was a lifeline thrown into a raging sea. Leaving a note for Ben, she embarked on the long journey home. The sterile air of the city gave way to the rich, living scent of the countryside. She traveled to a reclusive seer hidden deep in the forest, a place where the trees were so old they seemed to hold the secrets of time itself. His name was Dibia Uchenna, and his deep ebony skin was a roadmap of 100 years. He did not look at her, he looked through her. Before a single word could leave her lips, his sharp voice cut through the sacred silence of his hut. "Your womb is tied," he stated, not as a guess, but as a fact. It was not done by a jealous rival, nor by a sickness of the body. He leaned forward, his ancient, cloudy eyes seeming to burn into hers. "It was tied by your own hand." The seer guided her mind backward, peeling away the years like layers of an onion, back to a memory she had intentionally buried. She was 12 years old, her face hot with sweat and indignation. A mother hen and its chicks had just scratched up the yam mounds she had spent all morning building. In a blinding flash of childish rage, she had hunted the birds down, her small hands surprisingly strong. She dug a shallow, frantic hole, and, ignoring their terrified cries, buried them alive. She had laughed then, a cruel, triumphant sound, feeling a sense of power over the thing that had ruined her work. Now, the memory crashed down on her with the force of a tidal wave. The seer's voice was grim. "You buried life in anger," he explained, the words echoing in the small hut. "And now, life refuses to grow inside you. The earth does not forget such a debt." The only path to redemption, he revealed, was a ritual of atonement, a spiritual rebalancing. She had to perform a public, formal burial of another hen and its chick. This time, it had to be an act of profound honor, with song, dance, and a heart full of remorse to appease the spirits and undo the spiritual knot she had tied all those years ago. And so, she performed that very ceremony. As the final resonant drumbeat faded and she gently covered the birds with the last handful of soil, a tangible weight lifted from her soul as if a heady chain had finally snapped. For the first time in 4 agonizing years, Aria felt a profound sense of peace. The performance was over. The debt was paid. She returned to the city a changed woman, carrying not shame, but a quiet strength. Less than a month later, the impossible happened. A doctor, looking back and forth between her and his charts with wide, disbelieving eyes, confirmed that she was pregnant. When she told Ben, he fell to his knees, his broad shoulders shaking with a joy so pure it was heartbreaking. But the universe wasn't finished delivering miracles. 9 months later, Aria delivered, not to 1 child, not even 2, in an event that left the entire hospital staff speechless and murmuring about divine intervention. She delivered 4 sets of healthy twins, 8 babies, whose collective cries finally, beautifully filled the once silent mansion with an orchestra of life. The same in-laws who had tormented her were now struck dumb with awe and terror. Led by her mother-in-law, they fell at Aria's feet, their faces wet with tears of shame, begging for forgiveness. Aria, her heart overflowing with more love than she had ever known, looked at the faces of her 8 children and forgave them completely. Her story became a legend whispered from the city to the village, a shocking reminder that every action, no matter how small or forgotten, plants a seed in the soil of our destiny. It leaves you to wonder, what forgotten moments of anger from your own past might be shaping the silence in your life today?